Okay, you can see how I got that spacer pretty much in place with the bolt, because there's the rack spacer underneath, and then the fender will be, back this out a little bit, widen this out, and the fender will bolt up something like that, and then I'll be able to put tech screws in it all the way down. Plus, what'll be nice is I'll be able to adjust this back and forth wherever I need it or want it, and once I tighten it up, then I can put the tech screws in. So that's how that's going to mount, and basically that's how it's going to look. And there's plenty of room underneath right here. There's plenty of room underneath. So again, I cut and pull this all apart here. I cut the fender support. So I'm going to try to pull this thing out. That's the spacer there. And what I did was I cut this out so that the spacer fits in there good and tight. So it looks professionally done. So the next step now is to go ahead. I've got it all fitted. I know I need to drill a hole about 4.5 inches down. That will line my bolt right about there, right about in the center, so that way I can move it back more, move it forward more if I want, and then I can go ahead and put the tech screws in on the back side. So that's where we're at. I'll give you a better shot at this piece here that I cut. The other part of it's in the garage. I just used a hacksaw to cut that. It was difficult, believe me. I had to take them off. Had to take this off in order to cut it. Couldn't cut it with it on the fender. It was no big deal. It snaps. So that's where we're at on the back fender. Okay, I went ahead and I drilled the hole in my fender. When you drill the hole with the fender, don't use a drill. Use a X-Acto knife. Because I used to do a lot of hobbies when I was a kid. I used to do a lot of RC cars and stuff, and whenever we put holes in the Lexan bodies, we just use a sharp X-Acto knife and just work it around back and forth, and that way you can shape the hole. And that's what I did to this, because you might rip it if you try to drill with a regular drill. So I just thought I'd point that out. So all that's left now is go ahead and figure out exactly where I want to set it, and I decided I'm going to set it all the way forward to give me more coverage in here, you know, from the water. And then what we need to do then is tighten this up, and then I'll remove the rack, and then I'll put the tech screw in on this part right here. So it's just kind of laying down because it's all loose, but once it sits in there, but basically it's like that. I held the fender up where it needs to be, and I tilted the bike on its side and did the throttle on it, and it didn't rub, so that's good. So we're in good shape. Okay, I was able to get my nut, my lock nut in there, so I was able to, because I'd rather get this set in place and tighten it. So all I have to do is take the rack off, turn it upside down, and put my 2 tech screws right here, right on this bar right here from the underside, then put it back on. I'm not going to bore you with taking the rack all off and all that, so when I get the rack off and I get ready to put in the tech screws, I'll probably record that part of it, and then I probably won't bore you with putting the rack back on, but when the rack's back on and it's done, then I'll take it for a test ride and make sure that it's not rubbing. And then we'll attack the front fender. You notice I took off the light. So all I got there is a bolt, because I want the brackets to bolt up first. Then I can slide the light back over if I decide to put it back on, because I do have this guy right here, so don't really need it. Probably look better without it. So I gotta go down and get some stuff for the front. I was pretty lucky. I got everything I needed at the house for this. And so you can see why I went with this fender, is because it has that straight where I can mount it this way, because I'm so short I can't use the seat post mount. So this is the only real way I can get a shorty fender to work on this bike. So it worked out for me. Plus it only cost me $0 because I had points, so I didn't pay anything for these fenders. So the only thing I'm spending money on is for hardware, which this aluminum stuff is not going to be cheap unless they can find some short pieces. We'll see what happens. But I think I'm just going to be looking for 1/8 thick to 1 inch wide or wider, 1.5 wide aluminum strip. That way I can cut it, bend them to, and drill the holes and stuff the way I want it. And plus I could use the strips on the inside of the fender in the front. So, but it does look different. Now once these fenders are all on, and I know that they're working well, then I'm going to be taking them back off again for painting. They're not going to stay this color. This is probably going to be all black, and this part is probably going to be that burnt orange on the back. Same thing with the front fender. Try and do that. Go down my hobby shop. I know there's a special paint for plastic. I know we use on our Lexan clear bodies, because the paint tends to want to peel and chip off because it's plastic. Well, this Lexan paint doesn't do that. I'm sure there's vinyl paint too. So anyway, that's where we're at. All right. I don't know where this camera's pointing, but I hope it's pointing in the right direction. What I've done here is I taped the fender to keep it in place, just in case, you know, it wants to move on me. And the next thing I want to do is I want to measure about there. Okay, so it's 8 1/4 inches. So I'm going to flip this over, and we're going to measure out roughly 8 1/4 inches. So that should be right about there. What I'm going to do is let's get it tight. I like how that one went in. It's just this side's not very good. Okay. Still gonna be cocked. That's not that bad. Looks pretty good. Much better. Alright. So now it's ready to go back on. Okay, the rear fender is completed. It's all mounted. I took it for a little test ride. No rubbing, no nothing. It looks great. So now we start on the front fender.